Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope everybody is well. Hope you had a nice weekend. I hope the weather's been kind to you. Hope you managed to get some fresh air over the weekend. I hope, like me, you managed to actually play a game of something. Yes, yesterday is the first time I've actually managed to play a miniatures game over this lockdown. So it's been well over 3 months. So I did play. I kind of lie a little bit there. I did play some games with Dreadball with my wife, but yeah, as opposed to kind of like a proper like war game, a miniatures game. Yeah, I don't think I've played anything for about. It's got to be like 3.5 months now. So yeah, it was good to roll the dice, especially as I played 2 games and I won them both as well. So I obviously, whatever kind of curse I had on my dice before the lockdown has been lifted, and the dice gods have smiled on me now. I was rolling hot yesterday, plenty of 5s and 6s. So let's have a look and see who we've got in the chat tonight. We've got Foul Mood Central, who was in first, he says. Nice to see you, Foul Mood. We've got Steve Evans in. Thank you very much, mate, for coming in. Simon Parfitt in as well, saying he's excited for the new Ogre models. I've got a little a picture of those, mate, in a little bit, so I'll come on to those ones. We've got let's have a Peter Nicholas is in as well, saying Vanguard, that's the Skirmish one, eh? Yes, so for those of you, I don't know why you wouldn't have seen the title tonight, but yes, we're talking about Kings of War Vanguard tonight. And much like how we talked about Dead Zone, probably going back about 2 months ago now, we're kind of going to do something similar tonight about Kings of War Vanguard and have a bit of a deep dive, tell you how to get started, what you need, a little bit about the game, where to go for information, that kind of stuff, just to kind of ease you in if you're completely brand new to this game, and if you're not new to this game, maybe you've played before in the past and you're not playing now, I'll let you know the latest information, or maybe you're a regular player now, in which case you can help me out in the chat and answer some of the questions as they crop up as well. So we've also got Mark Coxey in. He says, evening all. Good evening, Mark Coxey. Tony Howell says, evening, my lovelies. Nice to see you, Tony. We've got Lord Maiden in as well. Says, hello, I have Bad Squiddo Amazon's been painted tonight. Nice one, Lord Maiden. I'm a big fan of the stuff that Annie does. Tony Howell says he's loading up the airbrush. Ooh, pressure mate tonight, yeah. Blizzards is in as well. Saying, hide all the Agrax Blizzards here. And Lord Maiden saying, I have heard of BlackJack Legacy and trying a live stream of his for the first time. Well, welcome, buddy. Thank you very much for popping in and trying it. Let me know what you think. We've also got Red Rose Wargaming in as well, who've just renewed their membership. Thank you very much, Red Rose Wargaming. Hugely appreciated. We've got Arnold the Guns in as well. Nice to see you, Arnold. Regular as always. We've got Palmsy in there, 6 in the head. Nice to see you, mate. Anybody that hasn't checked out, look for 6 in the head. I think it's 6inthehead.com. Or look for 6 in the head on Twitter. You will see his kind of semi-regular, bi-monthly magazine, which is kind of free to read. So please go and check it out. We've got Economics Academy in. Good evening to you. Yoakum's in as well, saying he's making the tea and getting ready for the live stream. Nice. Ortega's in, says should be a good topic tonight. Happened to look at Vanguard at the weekend, very tempted by Northern Alliance, and also noted that Goblin Gaming seemed to have a good bit of stock. Yes, mate, we'll come on to a couple of those things tonight, actually, both. I'll tell you about the different factions and stuff as well, but I'll also show you the Goblin Gaming site as well, because they do have lots of stock. And as you all know now, Goblin Gaming are my new affiliate, so that means that if you shop with Goblin Gaming, not only do you get 15% off the price of the Mantic game stuff, so the Vanguard stuff, so you get them 15% cheaper than you would get them on the Mantic site. You also you pay the same price. Let me start again. You pay 15% off list price, like recommended price, and because you've shopped through my affiliate link, I get a small commission. So that helps me keep the lights on in the channel, keep everything running, pay my food bill, and doesn't cost you a penny. So yeah, we'll come on to those ones later on. Thank you very much. Barry Cliver's in as well. Nice to see you, Barry. We've got the legend, that's Christian, in there, keeping an eye on everybody. Thank you, Christian, for coming in. We've also got Phil Tallhurst is in as well. Nice to see you, Philip Tallhurst. Jumping a little bit too far there as well. We've got Busey's in. Nice to see Different Gear TV. Then we've got Philip Tallhurst. He says, I made Elf Vanguard Warband. Never played it against anyone. Should really get the dice and try it out. At the local game store, I think the owner has a warband. Yeah, I'll come on to dice and stuff in a little bit. John Estel says, good evening, looking forward to this. Nice to see a local face in. He said he's painting up his Vanguard sets, is great. Lots of variety, can't get any tactics going. Tactics? What are they? Who else we got? VJ says, what's up, people? Nice to see you, mate. Good morning. Fat Cat's in. Nice to see you as well. Jacob says, Vanguard, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'll kind of touch on why we're talking about Vanguard today in a second. James Zorm's in. He said he's stuck at work, but it's not all that bad now. Nice to see you, James. Born to lose, live to win. Says, hey, Andy and all. Good evening to you, sir. We play Garden Vans. Lord Maidens, looking to see where to start. I have the rule book, though. Look, but haven't played a Mantic game in ages. Don't really know where to start. You're in the right place, buddy. This is exactly where you need to be then. Luke's in as well. Nice to see you, Luke Pryor. Nice to see you, Tiberius Wallace. Mark Berracloth, into Zone 88 in. Tony Booth Leiden. Nice to see all of you gents. Luke Pryor says, I hope you're having a better pick. I hope you have a better pick of what's actually in the starter set. Mantic have no pick of what is actually in it, which is infuriating. Right, well, come on, mate. Krabby Vision says, good evening, lads and lasses. Hello, Krabby Vision. This is where we're at. I'll tell you where we're at. I actually saw, face-to-face, human person. Krabby Vision is a real person. He very kindly came to mine today to drop off a couple of books that he's loaning me to read. So, yeah, it was nice to actually see you face-to-face today, mate. Thank you for dropping them off. Flying Mammals, waving to all on our TV as usual. Hello! Titus Painting Studios in as well. Nice to see you. Jimmy G's in. Nice to see you, Jimmy. James Brazen says, hello, sir. Hello. Vincent VT says, good evening, mates. Painting some undead archers. Asking everybody else what they're up to. Duffy Mikowski's in. Says, good afternoon from storm-wrecked Levertown. I hope everything's okay, mate. Paul Jones says, up. Nice to see you. Krabby Vision says, Kings of War, what happened to the 40k train? So this is a good point to kind of to come in. So I put a vote up in the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, please do come and join. And there'll be a link in the bottom of the description of this video. And it was to see what we should do for the next challenge. And I said, just throw any game in anybody wants to do. You can vote for multiple games. And there were probably two kind of runaway leaders. There was 40k and there was Vanguard. And part of me was a little bit, I was thinking, Vanguard seems pretty popular. I don't necessarily want to do another Mantic game straight away for the slow grow because we've just had Dead Zone and we've just had Kings of War, sort of 3rd edition, like the main game. So I was thinking, I don't necessarily want to do another another Mantic game. However, if it's popular and the community want to do it, far be it from me to kind of stop that. 40k was kind of, is still now leading the way. But what I thought was, 40k doesn't necessarily need me to kind of to bring the hype, if you like. If you're not sort of excited for 9th edition 40k, oh, thank you very much, Arnold. Donated through the super chat there. I can't even read what it says. He says, I want my spot back. If you're not excited for 40k through the 9th edition rules, me running a challenge thing probably isn't going to change your mind. So, whilst I haven't 100% decided Vanguard's going to be the next challenge, I kind of thought, look, at the end of the day, this is always about the community. This channel's about the community. And if the community are voting for it, even though there's a few Mantic employees managed to get in there and tick the box, there were still more than enough people who were interested in Vanguard. So I thought, let's test the waters tonight. Let's see what people think. And then we'll take it from there. The 40k train, mate, it's still running along there as well, without my help. But yeah, I'm still painting my stuff, as you know. Busey saying Super Monday. Marco says, hey everyone, painting chibis while listening. Are those the ones that you're doing for a commission, mate? Mark saying he's up his eyes in green Space Marines. Nice one. Where else are we up to? Just Kev says, here lads, hope all is well. Looking forward to being convinced to try out Vanguard, sorry. Tell me the minis aren't awful. We'll come on to minis and stuff, mate. Phil's making bases for his Primaris. William Jones is in. Says, need beer and cheese too. I've got coffee, mate. Coffee and a very nice mug there. Should anybody be interested in joining the Patreon? I've just saw a few comments there. We are now, what was that? Paul Inman, Vanguard Slow Grow, do it. I tell you what, if people want to donate to influence me, far be it for me not to sell my thing. And standard tabletop as well. It says spot fight it is, and Arnold. Everybody's on the game. So yes, these mugs are available at certain pledge levels. After 6 months of Patreon, you get, this is the first mug that you get. So every 6 months you will get a different mug. This one says 6 months of supporting that Northern Monkey. And then once you've done it for a year, as some people have, and I'm due to send some mugs out this month, you'll get a different design. So each 6 months the mugs will change. So you can kind of collect them. But if you start now, in 6 months' time, this will be the first one you get. So this will always be the first. Standard Tabletop said, thank you, mate. She's got your link bookmark so I don't accidentally go through their site without it. Thank you. I'll skip ahead and see who else we've got in as well. Christian sharing the Goblin Gaming link. Thank you very much, mate. Mike G's in. David Delaney's in as well. Mountain Gremlin Games. Hello, Mountain Gremlin Games. Just saw that you followed me on Twitter today. Thank you very much. James Bracy says, don't convince me to buy into this. I can't get derailed from the 40k train. Radislaw's in as well. He's just got the new Northern Alliance warband starter. Good choice. Different Gear TV saying, yeah, over 100 Patreons now. Yeah, we're up to 103 Patreons now. So that means I'm going to kind of finish off the painting of the Hero Quest set. And somebody in the Patreon group will be winning my own personal Hero Quest set fully painted. So yes, it's not too late to get in on that. If you want to get in on that action, you still have time. Once I've finished painting it, that's it. It's closed, and there's not much left to do, to be fair. So once I finish painting it, it's closed, and everybody in the Patreon group will then go into the draw for that. So yeah, it's not too late to join. Who else have we got? Yeah, Krabbyson, he's definitely a real person. Who else? Jonathan Wyborn's in. Nice to see you, mate. John Francis in as well. Nice to see you. Who else have we got? Robert Zunk, nice to see you, sir. JVC Paints is in. Mark Wright in. Christian sharing the Patreon link. Thank you very much. And James Bray as well, donated as well. Says, do a 40k slow grower so I paint my Necron Horde. Does the fact that 9th edition is coming, is that not motivation enough, do you not think? And Altagon says, don't go there. Plenty of €2 coins to keep this up. And Jason says, my 2-player starter set should be arriving sometime this week. Perfect. So now is the perfect time. As you know, folks, I am nothing if not prepared. Notes galore tonight. Can you see them, Arnold? There's definitely writing on them pages tonight. I've been doing a lot of research today to make sure I give you the latest information. So yes, let's get stuck in. So I'm going to start with the things that you need to play the game. So, it's just chinking away. I'm going to try and ignore it and keep going because I think I've already talked about these ones. Things that you need. You obviously need rules to play the game. Now, there's 2 ways to get the rules. Somebody just joined the Patreon as well. Who was that? Paul Inman. Thank you very much, sir. Paul, you are a legend, mate. Thank you very much. He says he likes his YouTube gold badge. Cheers, mate. Yes, so you need the rules. There are 2 ways to get the rules. I'll flick across to... so I'll show you on the Goblin Gaming site. There's a link in the chat there. The reason I'm showing you this is, 1, it's my affiliate link. So if you shop through Goblin Gaming, I get a small commission. And the second reason is, it's 15% off the price. So if you decide to pick it up from here, it's cheaper than buying it on the Mantic site. Please do just check out shipping, because shipping around the world is different prices. There is free shipping at over £75 in the UK. So yes, so anyway, one way to get this is to get the Kings of War Vanguard rulebook. So as you can see here, it's 15% off. This is the book here. So I've got it nice and hardback, as you can see. Nice chunky rulebook. Don't be put off by the chunkiness of the rulebook. It's got lots of background information. It's got army lists. It's got scenarios, all sorts of stuff in. So that is one way to be able to do it. James Bracian, sorry if this is distracting me by another donation. It's not distracting me, it's paying my bills. So distract me all you want. So yes, so this is one way to do it with the Vanguard rulebook. Now what I will say is, there is another way to do it, and that is to download the free rules from the Mantic website. I'll show you where to get them later on. Now, there are some pros and cons to this. One is obviously it's a digital version, so some people who don't like digital rules, you have to obviously might have to print it off. The other side of it is, though, however, is that it is free, and compared to what I'll show you here is inside the free rules, it basically has some information about what you need, and then the rules. We have another Patreon just joined there as well. Who's that? We've got Ian Pennells, thank you very much, Ian. Very, very kind of you, mate. So you've got the rules here, which is basically from page 9 to about page 31. So there's not a lot of rules there, actually, about 21, 22 pages of rules. So the rules themselves are not that complicated. However, if I flick across to, this is my copy of the main digital rules. Of course, it's not going to... I'll let you two fight it out. You can see here that actually there is much more content in the main rule book. You can see there is things about creating a warband. There are 12 scenarios. There's some background information, and then we have all of the warband lists. There's campaign stuff in there. There's advanced spell book and more equipment. However, if you're just wanting to give this a try, this is the place to start. Start with the free rules. There is enough in here to give you the rules of the game and to give it a try, and there's 2 scenarios in there as well which will allow you to try it. Now, because there's no warbands and there's no list in here, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get the point costs for different things? In the main rule book there are some basic sort of warband point cost. Not every model that you can buy is in this book, and this got a little bit of kind of criticism when it first happened, because the only way to get the points for certain models was to buy those models, and the cards came with them models. It was it was a very different setup to the way Mantic normally did it. However, since then, Mark was just saying Battle Scribe is updated. I think Easy Army is. You can always use Easy Army. The other side of it as well is, again, free on the website, you can go and get the updated warbands. In the updated warbands list, it will tell you how to build a warband, which is missing from the main rulebook. So this tells you exactly the restrictions and stuff, and we'll touch on this later on. And then it goes through the different ones. Now, we have got a total of 22 different warbands. I'll not go through them all, but basically I'll not go through them all on the screen. But we've got Elves, Ogres, Empire of Dust, Orcs, Twilight Kin, which are like Dark Elves, League of Rhodia, Brotherhood, Kingdoms of Men, Vanguard, Salamanders, the Herd, and Ratkin. Now, they are all sort of factions that Mantic haven't done Vanguard starter boxes for, or like intro boxes or specific Vanguard minis. So what you've got in here are the kind of the basic rules for models they already have, or stuff you can proxy in if you like. Once we go down a bit further, if I can get all the way down to Ratkin, Herd and Ratkin. Once we go down, we then get to the ones where you can buy the sort of the starter boxes, the faction boxes, if you like. And what Mantic have done now, and this is all kind of, maybe last year they did this, you can download all of the cards now with all of the updated stats and point costs. So what you can see here, if I zoom in a little bit, let's zoom in. You can see here on the cards, basically this number 8 in the corner here, or number 14 in the corner here, these are the points that your models cost. And you can print these off and use these cards in your games. It has all of the stats on there, tells you how many dice to roll, gives you their special abilities and kind of spells and things. So there are the cards available, and that means that there are kind of faction boxes available for Forces of the Abyss, Basileans, the Dwarfs, the Northern Alliance, Forces of Nature, Goblins, Trident Realm, Night Stalkers, Undead, and Abyssal Dwarfs. So there is a heck of a lot of choice there if you're interested in this. Now, don't think about... Actually, what I would say is, don't feel like you have to buy, obviously, the Mantic minis. You can. Just obviously, Mantic do their own ranges of stuff like this. But for those of you that are into the kind of games where you like miniature agnostic stuff, you've got loads of miniatures that you've already got, download the free rules, download the free warbands, print off the cards or write down your stats. You are ready to go. You're ready to kind of give the game a go. So if you like using the cards, the minis you've already got, this is a great way to do it. Remember, Kings of War Vanguard uses square bases, so if you've got old Warhammer Fantasy miniatures, this is perfect to kind of give them a try as well, if you don't fancy getting into Kings of War or like a bigger scale game now. So yeah, so 2 options there, free rules, there's 2 scenarios in there, and free warband kind of points lists and cards and everything else. So I'll just quickly go back to the main screen in a second. So that's a great way to get started. There is also, if I can go to, you will also need some power dice. So I go back to this screen, press the button rather. So the Vanguard power dice normally cost £10 from the Mantic site. They're £8.49 from Goblin Gaming, and you get 9 dice. And he said 8 there, 9 dice. So there is 5 of these red dice, there's 2 of the white dice, and then there's 1 of the blue. And essentially what happens if, let me go back to, which one was it on where we had the stats, the free, it was these free ones here. Let me find a card that has the stats on one of the command models. Here we go. So on this command model here, you can see, if I can, you'll see here that this Tormentor champion comes with 3 red command dice. Every warband starts with 3 command dice, 3 red command dice, and then depending upon what you've got, your command models will add extra command dice. So if you take the Tormentor champion, for example, for the Force of the Abyss, it will bring 3 red. If you bring the Heliquant Blood Mask, it will bring 2 red. If you bring the Seductress, she will bring 2 white. And let me go back to this side. Red are the least powerful, white are the kind of middle ones, and blue are the kind of the most powerful. And essentially what you do is you roll those dice before the start of a round, and each of those dice gives you command points. So as you can see on the red ones there, a sword equals 1 there, the 2 cross swords there equal 2, the 3 cross swords equal 3, and obviously the blue dice has more on each side. So you will need these to play the game. Now you can use normal D6. There are some, there's information online which will tell you how to convert them. So if you're rolling 3 red D6 and you get a 1, 2 and a 3 for example, it will tell you what that translates to. The other thing that maybe people don't already know is that the numbered sides, if you like, on these dice are exactly the same as the Walking Dead dice. So if you have the red, white and blue Walking Dead dice, you can use those in place of these. So just basically the little kind of the bullet shots. Ignore the headshot things. What I forget what's on the side of Walking Dead dice now. Whichever one's the headshot, ignore that one, but the little kind of pips on it are exactly the same as these ones. So if you just want to give it a try and you've got Walking Dead dice, you can use these. You also need, I think that's it for there, we'll go back to the main screen. The game uses D8 dice, so you will need some D8 dice. I'd suggest probably about minimum of 6, but more is obviously better, so you're not having to pass them between players and stuff. But yeah, D8s, not D6s. You'll need some counters to use as well. So if I go to here, Mantic have today, because I reminded them, they've put these counters up because actually they're out of stock at the moment. They normally sell these counters and they're out of stock, so you can actually print them off yourself. And what we've got here is basically there's 2 sheets here, which is just the 2 sides of the counters. These are basically just these kind of grey purpley ones. Oh, if I actually show you them, these kind of grey purpley ones here basically are your activated tokens. We've got some which are, I think they're fatigued. Those ones are when you're put on like a defense stance, and I think that's it. There's another one I think which is basically falling down. Is that something? Yeah. Anyway, they do different things. I'll come on to that stuff. Exclamation mark on the Walking Dead dice. Thank you very much, Tony Boothleiden. Ignore the exclamation mark. It's the little bullet holes. That's the things that you want. Yes. So these are basically wound markers here. And I quite like these tokens. Let me just zoom in so I can kind of show you. Because one of the downsides I had when I first kind of saw this game was I thought, there's going to be a lot of tokens on the battlefield. And it kind of distracts a little bit. What Mantic have done is, at some point you will need 2 tokens or 3 tokens next to your model. So they've made these tokens to have 2 or 3 states. So if you are activated and fatigued, you still have to just put the 1 token down, but it shows you the 2 states, for example. So that's actually pretty good. So yeah, so that's your tokens as well, your counters. Obviously you can just use your own if you've got something that you want to use. You will need models, remember, square bases. You'll need a table and terrain and a tape measure. So other than the power dice, which you might have to kind of just either use Walking Dead dice or convert them from normal D6, everything else is pretty much free online. So there's a really inexpensive way to get started. Now, let's have a look at the rules, and let me go back to the free rules, and I'll take you through those. So, actually, before we go on, let me just dump in the chat because there's been a lot of chat there. We'll see if anybody's got any specific questions, and then I'll kind of crack on from there. Lord Maiden says, it's me, you got me at Northern Monkey. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. I assume that's you, isn't it? Was it? If I can see it on the screen now. That was you, Ian, wasn't it? Thank you very much, Ian. Lee Burns is in as well. Nice to see you. JVC Paints says, we think they're doing Dragon Rampant when we get the band back together, but this looks interesting. Yeah, like I say, mate, it's free rules, so it's worth giving it a look. And if you do want to go into the campaigns and the more serious, heavier stuff, you can pick up the full rule book after that. Where else? Dice Guy's in as well. Saying about Easy Army. Thank you, mate. Yeah, Easy. I'll show you Easy Army later on as well. Starty's Man Cave's in. Nice to see you, sir. VJ says, as someone who's looking to get into both guarding vans and Kings of War, what would be the best way to base the minis for use in both? What I would suggest, mate, is I personally, for Kings of War, prefer to multi-base the minis. It just makes it so much easier for transporting them, for moving them. You don't have to worry about knocking models over. But what I would suggest is whenever you build a unit up, so for example, if you've got 20 models on a base for Kings of War, just put 15 on or just put 16 on and keep some single models back to use in Vanguard. So that's the way I would do it personally. Kings of War works on a footprint. The most of any amount of models that you can have in a Kings of War Vanguard warband. In a 200 point list, and 200 points is the standard game, 200 points you can have a maximum of 5 of the same model. So I would personally kind of, if you've got a block of 20, put 15 on, pack it out with a bit of terrain and stuff, make it look nice, and keep those 5 singles back to use in Vanguard. That way you're almost getting 2 games for your money. VJ saying, what is Easy Army? It's essentially a free online army builder, mate. I'll come on to it in a little bit later on tonight when I show you about sort of building your war bands and things, because it's really simple to do. James Bray saying, is it better than Battlescribe? I just find Easy Army is pretty good for Kings of War and Kings of War Vanguard, to be fair. I think it's quite simple. Yeah, John's kind of saying the same thing about using movement trays as well. VG saying you can proxy in regular dice in a chart, right? Yes. I'm not sure where the chart is, mate. We have to dig it out somewhere, but I've seen something online that basically tells you for white dice what a 1 equals, what a 2 equals, for a red dice, for a blue dice, for example. Kieran's in as well. Nice to see you, Kieran. Felmu Sentinel saying he's going to have a look at this. Winter XL says, will I be banned from the Vanguard Club if I use round bases? You won't be banned, mate. The reason I say that is because there is a facing to the models in Vanguard. There is a rear facing, a little bit like how you would have in Kings of War. So if you charge into the rear, it's just much easier to see where the flat back of the base is, because the model can't see behind them. So that's why square bases are used in this game. That's why it's kind of... What I would suggest is actually just getting a square base and just kind of sitting your round base on top of it. It just makes it much easier. Even if you just blue tack them on, for example. Let's have a look. James Bray saying change the scene. Yeah, I think I was off before me, wasn't it? That's where we're up to now. We'll see about that. Ortega saying he's got to head off now. Catch you later on the rerun, mate. Thank you very much. Peter Nicholas says, there's a danger in getting the Walking Dead dice to play another game. You end up playing the Walking Dead in the shared loft spare room instead. Yeah, I mean, if you've already got Walking Dead, you'll already have the dice. So the way I play it is I've got one set of the Kings of War Vanguard dice, and I use my Walking Dead dice for the other player when we're playing 2 players at home. James is asking everyone how they found the channel. He's saying the Warcry terrain building was my little £10 starter bag of skag. Folding hobby table was Peter's Nicholas. Yeah, nice one, mate. A bit of kill team stuff. Jim Street says, why does it require square bases? Perfect. I kind of touched on it there before. Let me just show you in one of the pictures if I can find a picture in the rules, because there is a picture that explains facings. If I can find it. Here we go. This is a perfect one. So let me zoom in, and then that is much easier. So what you have is a model has a front arc, which is right across the cross of it, the rear of the. Actually, if I can zoom in a little bit more, that might be even better. Right across the rear of the base, and then kind of all the way across the front in 180 degrees. That is the front arc of a model. Anything behind that the rear of the base is classed as its rear arc, and that uses things for line of sight. You can only see models in your line of sight, and if models charge into you from the rear, you basically they get a bonus, or either they get a bonus or your defense drops. I forget which one it is now. It also, as well, if you get charged into the rear and you react, obviously you have to turn around to fight back. It then makes you vulnerable for rear attacks again and for being kind of crowded out. So there are reasons why square bases are useful in the game. It's not just a case of like, let's say a Warcry, for example, where your model can see 360 degrees. There's a little more element of kind of something in that. So I hope that answers your question, Jim Street. Foul Mood Sentinel says, are Dead Zone models resin or plastics? They're a bit of a mixture, mate. I think there are plastics, there are PVCs, and there are resin. Same as Vanguard as well, mate. Christian saying, back in the day with Walking Dead unboxing, that was my first ever video, mate. You were right there from the start. Where else are we up to? I'm not going to try and pronounce that Cyrillic name there, but thank you very much. The Power Dice chart was published in beta rules for Kickstarter. It is still actual and can be found in the Facebook group. I've definitely seen it kicking about somewhere, but we'll have to try and find it out. Lord Maiden says the list building rules are in the main book just after the rules, I believe. The list building rules are not in the free rules. They are, however, in the free warband rules. So you will come into them. Actually, let's talk about list building, and I'll show you exactly how to build a list. So let me just zoom back to the start here, and I'll tell you how to build a list for the game, because that's kind of relevant from what I was saying. So you want to build a list. Like I say, 200 points is generally the kind of the main level for this game. And there are some rules that basically you need to have 5 grunts or warrior models. When I'm talking about grunts or warrior models, let me go back to those cards that we had before. So you can see on these cards here, if I zoom in again, they have things like spellcaster, they have things like warrior, they have things like grunt, you have command on them as well, large. These are the different, basically the types of model that we have. And then if I go back to the list building, you need to have 5 grunts and or warriors in your list. So here, you must take a minimum of 5 warriors and or grunt models and 1 command model. And you may take up to 1 command, 1 support, and 1 spellcaster for every 3 warrior or grunt models you select. So as you can see here, it's kind of split into 3s. So for this one, they've taken 2 lower abyssals and a flame bearer, which are all grunts, which then unlocks a command model, a spellcaster, and a support. And that's basically how you build up your list. So if you have to take 5 of those, so you always have access to 2 command models, 2 spellcasters, and 2 supports. And you, as you kind of build more out, you can unlock more. So for example, you couldn't have 3 command models if you only had 5 warrior models. The other restriction as well is you can take one large model for every full 150 points in the warband, and you may take up to one of each different type of model for every full 40 points. And that's what I was saying before when I was saying about just keeping 5 models back from Kings of War boxes, because if you're playing 200 points, the maximum you can have of the same type of model is 5. Any more than that, you have to be playing bigger points games. You can play smaller points games as well if you just want to play, say, like 100 points, and there's a slightly kind of modified selection there, but 200 points is pretty much the standard for this game. And 200 points is probably about somewhere between 10 and 15 models. It's not a lot of models to do that. So yeah, this really does explain pretty well. Don't forget as well, you can take different equipment, you can take spells, which all cost sort of additional point costs as well. So if you're slightly below the 200, you can always boost it up with things like that as well. So that's how list building works. Where to? Famusen says thank you. Jim saying thank you. Lord Maiden says sorry, I meant the physical rule book. That's my mistake. Sorry about that. Yes, it's in the physical rule book, mate. Yeah. BlackJack crack. Jason says, can you take some of the larger size units from Kings of War? Larger size units. There's not. So there are models in Vanguard that you might be able to now, to be fair, but that you couldn't take in Kings of War, and there are models in Kings of War that you can't take in Vanguard. Definitely check out these lists and stuff of where you had. VJ saying, where was that list building chart you had up? It's in this, mate, which is the free updated warbands. If I go to, let me show you on the free. So if you go to the Mantic site, I'll tell you what, let's just go to the start of the Mantic site and I'll show you exactly where to find it. If you go to the Mantic site, if you go to free rules here at the top, if you go to Kings of War, there is the Kings of War free rules. There are the Kings of War free warband rules, which is exactly the way you need to be for that list building thing, and it tells you all the different models that are available for the factions that you are interested in. The tokens are here as well. There is a roster sheet here if you want to write down your roster, and there's also some FAQ and a little bit of a rattler there as well. So that's where you want to be for all of your free stuff. Aaron Brown, even to you, mate. He said, "Sorry, has this been discussed? But is the 2-player set good value?" Right. Let's go back. Let's go to the 2-player set. So this is the 2-player set. Included in the set, you get what's he called again? I forget what he's called. You get the Basilean Dictator. You get the Banshee for the so it's Basileans and Night Stalkers. You get the Banshee. Those are both resin models. You get the men. I think how many? Let me see how many men at arms you get. I think you get. Oh, I'll tell you what. Let's just have a look. There's men at arms. There's the scarecrows. You get the dice. You get a tape measure. You get the hardback rule book. You get, if you order it from Mantic, you get a free digital version of the Ice and Iron set. Yeah, for some reason it's not actually showing everything that you get in there. But where have I seen it? Where have I seen everything that you get in it? I've seen a picture of that somewhere today. Oh, where did it go? I'm sure I've just seen. I was sure I'd seen a 2-player set. A picture of what was in it. Was it in here? No, I don't think it was. Anyway, let's go back to that one as well. So, yeah, you get the cardboard counters, you get the power, you get 16 power dice, you get 8 D8s, you get the bases, tape measure, the hardback book, and 22 miniatures, 2 of which are resin. Now the question is it good value? The starter set is $74.99. I'm a bit torn about it, if I'm perfectly honest. And the reason I'm torn about it is, if I take you over to the Goblin Gaming site, just because I've already got this one up here, we'll go back to Kings of War. If you were to buy the Basilean set here, you can buy a battalion starter faction, and in here there are 2 paladin defenders, 2 men-at-arms, 2 plastic sisterhood, 2 plastic sisterhood scouts, 2 plastic Gur panthers, 5 men-at-arms, and 15 bases. So there's 15 models in that set. I think in the starter set, the 2-player starter set, you only get 1 of the panthers, you get 1 of the sisterhoods, you get 1 of the scouts, and I think you get 1 of the paladins. So you're not getting as many minis as that you get in this box. And it's the same thing when it comes to the Night Stalker list as well. If I go back to Night Stalkers, go back to these as well. In here you've got the 2 butchers. You only get 1 in the starter set. You get 2 of, what are they called again? The horrors. You only get 1 of those in the set. You get 2 of the plastic reapers. You only get 1 of those in the set. You get 2 of the shadow hounds, which are these kind of hell dog things. There's only 1 of those in the starter set. And then you get 5 of the scarecrows, which you do get the 5 scarecrows, I believe, because I think they all come on 1 sprue. So you do also get then you also get 1 resin model for each of the 2 factions. Now the reason I say that I'm not sure this is good value is because this is what you get. You get this Banshee. However, the only place you can buy this Banshee is in this set. So if you wanted to have the other 2 models, you're going to get that one anyway. It is still good value, but I would only say it's good value if you're going to split it with somebody. Because, well, I think I wrote down what was inside it. There's essentially, there's £20 worth of power dice, and there's a £25 rule book. So essentially you're getting all the models, the tokens, the tape measure, and the digital book as well. You're getting that for £30. So actually, it's not bad value. The problem is you've only got about 175 points worth of models. If you buy one of these starter factions, there's enough in there for 200 points. There's over 200 points in them as well. I went to my first ever Mantic tournament, and I'll show you exactly what I took. I took Forces of the Abyss, and I made a 200 point list out of just that box. So what does it cost on their site? £21.24. I spent £21.24 and had more than enough in there to run a list for a 200 point faction. So it depends on what you're going to do. Bear in mind that the rules are free. If you just want to kind of dip your toe in, it depends. You really have to want those 2 factions, I think, because if you want to buy the boosters, which has got the 3 resin models in, they're only £22 as well, or whatever, £21. However, the ones for those 2 factions, you'll already have one of those models. So I'm not sure. My personal opinion is if you've already got dice you can use, and you're happy to print off the tokens, I'd say buy one of those starter factions, and get yourself a rule book potentially, or use the free rule book. Let me go back to the main screen. So yeah, I hope that kind of clears it up. It really depends upon what you want, to be fair, Aaron. Robert said he plans 2 more warbands, not sure which ones yet. Kieran saying, plus there are some warbands on that more elite than others, so point costs are higher, which means less models to use. Like the dwarves, for example, are hardy and higher point costs. Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. GVC Paints is off to work. We'll catch you later. Mark says, if we do a slow grow, I have an unassembled, unpainted Night Stalker army, so won't break my Walking Dead and Birds and Badges only rule. There you go, mate. Tony says, that's all the free rules and stuff downloaded to read through later. Mantic are a cracking bunch, and I really like how they interact and support their community. Great rule sets too. Yeah, that is, I mean, to enable you to give it a try is half the battle, isn't it? Peter saying, your head has just reminded me that I need to run the clippers over my hair. Thanks, mate. Enro Fairbanks says, does Tester's plastic glue work on Mantic minis? No, mate. Anything that's hard plastic on the sprues plastic glue will work. It certainly has for me. I know others have said it hasn't. If it's the PVC plastic or if it's resin, you need super glue. So yeah, I'd say just stick with super glue, to be fair. Aaron Brown says, I'm leaning towards buying the dice and cards separately since I'm leaning towards goblins. I wouldn't even worry about buying the cards, mate, to be fair. Just download the ones off the website. They're free. Because otherwise, if you buy the goblins, you'll get the cards with them. Jason said he's splitting it with his broke buddy. I'll let him buy one band and I'll keep the rest. That's a nice way to do it, mate, to be fair. It's one way to get somebody else into the game as well. Aaron saying, good info, thank you. You're welcome, mate, no problem at all. John says, those starter set warbands are great. Lots of variety to play and paint. I'd go for them too. Yeah, I've got the Forces of the Abyss starter and the Forces of the Abyss resin expansion. I've got the Basileans and the resin expansion. I've got the Night Stalkers and the resin expansion. And I've also got the Northern Alliance and the resin expansion too. So those were the first 4 that were available when the game first came out. So yeah, and I basically like £50 for one of those factions for the starter faction and the kind of like the large models, the kind of like the resin ones. I don't think it's too bad in the grand scheme of things. However, if you just starting, those sort of £22 to £25 starter factions are absolutely perfect. That's all you need. You can play the game. You won't get overpowered. It's not like you need to buy the latest stuff. You'll have good, fun games playing with just them. And it's a cheap and easy way to just dip your toe in. And if you want to try a different faction, you want to, like, I would personally dive in with one of those. VJ is saying, yeah, that's the problem. I like the dice tokens rulebook, but I have zero interest in the factions in the starter. Yeah, and I think that's the problem. The other thing you could do is you could always sell them off. I suppose you could try and sell them on to somebody else. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, you're getting the Basileans in the starter box plus the Basilean resin one, then the Night Stalkers plastics and the Night Stalker resin, plus 8d8 dice, plus a tape measure, plus the counters, and the digital ice and iron expansion book, which I'll come on in a bit, for like £30 really. And if you can find that on sale at another store that's got 15% discount, it gets a bit cheaper again. So it might still be worth buying that starter box, but it's not like a very obvious straight away, yeah, it's a no-brainer, just get it. I think you've still got to kind of you still got to really want those minis. Kieran saying, if you want more options and cool minis in your warband, the starter warband set is probably the way to go, especially if you're already in the hobby and play miniatures. Yeah, I'd agree, mate. Thank you, Christian, for sharing the link there to the BlackJack Legacy t-shirts as well. Thank you, folks. If you want to get a t-shirt like this one or some of the other designs, head across and check that out, please. Scott Longworth's in. Nice to see you, mate. Lee Russ is in as well, saying better late than never. Mark says, do you know what's in the Vanguard Organised Play Kit 2020? I'm pretty sure I do, mate. Let me just go to the Vanguard store on Mantic, because I think what you've got is, let me just so on the Mantic site, which are currently out of stock, they have these resin or acrylic, not resin, sorry, these acrylic tokens, which are really, really nice. I think in the organised play kits is a set of these, but I think they're kind of gold and stuff. They're designed basically for if you're running a tournament and an event, and essentially basically you've got you give a set of these to the winner. How much are these ones? They're 25. To be honest, you're probably just as well buying them ones if you're going to buy these. Double check, because I'm pretty sure that's what's in them. I'm sure that's what's in them. When I've bought one for our event that we had when we had the weekender, I'm sure that's what was in it. Paul Inman says, that's always the problem with starter boxes though. If you don't like the factions in the starter box, it's not for you. However, they serve a specific purpose to make it easy to start playing. I agree, mate. Yeah, I just think that it's not the kind of it's not as easy and in, because there are some cheaper options that could get you started. So, for example, if you've already got the dice and you're happy to use the free rules, you could buy 2 of those starter factions with 15% discount for like £42. which is still like £35 cheaper or £33 cheaper than the starter box. So that's where it becomes kind of a little bit like, oh, it's not quite as easy a choice. Mark Wright says, does a starter box come with build instructions? I've got no idea, mate. I know that the boxes that I got, which were those kind of faction starters, didn't come with build instructions. I've no idea what's in that new £75 two-player starter box. Peter Kuhlman says his wife's in bed and he's here, plodding on with the Asterians. Nice one. Paul Inman says, as long as you can buy the components individually for people who know what they want, there's no issue. No, I agree, mate. To be honest, the game needed that starter box, I think, when it first launched. It's a bit weird that it's come out now, like way down the line when there's lots of other options. It would have been, when the game was first new, those would have flew off the shelves. Andrew's saying, okay, now I have to figure which factions are in polystyrene, then I loathe using super glue. I think the problem you've got, mate, is there's a mix in most of the factions. There's a mix in most of them. VJ saying now he's got his 3D printer up and running, he's going to print some tokens. It's not a bad way to do it, mate, as well. Fat Cat says, the Goblin game's not stock the starter. A rules bundle with 2 books and dice would interest him. I don't think they've got it on their site yet, mate, but it is pretty new, so maybe they just haven't got them in stock yet. Where are we up to? VJ saying there should be an option to get everything in the starter without the minis. I think the problem is, mate, it's actually, no, to be fair, there are other companies do it. I think what Mantic would say is actually the rule, everything's available separately. And actually, you can get the rules for free if you really want them. Scott says he's got the Basileans. Vanguard could do with the Gubbins box. That's exactly what I was thinking of. I was thinking of Wild West Exodus, and I was thinking I don't know anybody else that do like an equipment minus miniatures. But then it just dawned on me about the Gubbins boxes as well. Lee says I bought a load of Basileans primarily for RPG use, and they're on round bases. Will that affect gameplay much? It's not ideal, mate. But if you're only going to use them kind of sporadically, I would get the square bases and just blue tack them on, mate, for when you're playing the game. I mentioned earlier on, I think before you were online, is that it basically there's a front and rear arc to the models, so square bases make that really easy to kind of measure and see where it is. Palmsy needs to see if he can get a 200-point army out of these shadows in the North box. You might have to proxy something as like a command model or something, mate, but I think you might be able to do something. Andrew says, then again, I don't have a consider buying Mantic when I have so much GW stuff. That's the other side of it is, like, if you're worried about, if you want normal plastics, just use another model, use a one from a different manufacturer, really. Use the models you like. Lee says, looks good, got a whole bunch of old fantasy stuff, but never played any skirmish games. I tell you what, let me just just dive in quick, and I'll kind of explain a little bit about the rules, because I've kind of skimmed over that a bit at the minute. Let me just get back, and I can kind of explain to you a little bit about how the game works. So command dice I've already spoke about. There you go. Oops, he spilled my coffee there. So command dice I've already spoke about, but essentially the game does come with exploding 8s as well. So if you like exploding 8s from Dead Zone, you'll love it here in Vanguard as well. Now the game is kind of split up into rounds and turns. So you set up, you deploy your models, you determine who takes the first turn. You roll for power, which is those red, white and blue power dice we're talking about. You then take alternating turns. So I activate a model, you activate a model. And then there's the end phase where you do any other kind of mop-up stuff. And then how you determine who goes first next round is whoever finished activating all of their models first. And there are some things in the game that allow you to make sure that you do activate your models first. And that's one of the things that you can do with your power dice. So you roll for power. So you start with 3 red dice. You add any power dice that come from the models that you've selected, as I've shown you before. And then basically you add up how many power points you've got for that round. Now, for every command model that you have in your faction, in your warband, you get to re-roll one of your power dice. So if you have one command model and you have one of your power dice as a blank, you can re-roll that one. As soon as your commander is out of the game, you no longer get those re-rolls at the start of the game. And if you have 3 command models at the start of the game, you get 3 re-rolls. Okay. Taking actions, basically each of your models gets 2 actions. That's 2 short actions or 1 long action. And some of the things that you can have here, let me just zoom in a little bit so you can get it there. So you can walk, which is a short action. You can shoot as a short action. You can stand up because your models do get knocked down as a short action. You can do a normal melee attack, which is a short action. You can cast a spell, which it depends upon what the spell is. It can be short or long action. You can run, which is like a double walk action, but it moves twice its speed. That's a long action. Brace, which is basically an improvement to your armor, is a long action as well. And you can break away from being engaged in melee, which is also a long action. Now, what you can do is there's a special thing in Vanguard which is called fatigue. So if I walk, let's say I run, I charge into a model. So I use a long action to run, and if I get into base contact, you get a free melee attack. So I hit that model. I've used my long action, I've used all my activations, I hit that model and I haven't killed it. I can then fatigue my model, which is essentially borrowing a short action from the next turn to hit it again, which is a really good way to do it. The problem you've got is that if you don't do something about that fatigue, the next turn you'll only get 1 short action. Now, one of the things you can spend your power dice in is to remove that fatigue at the end of the round. So you could fatigue that model, keep 1 power point back, and at the end of the round, say I'm going to spend that to take the fatigue off that model. So there's a nice little kind of mechanic that goes on there as well. Now, there are a number of ways you can spend your power. Actually, there's a nice, at the back of the book, the main rule book, I don't know if it's in this free one, but in the back of the book, there's a really nice kind of 2-page summary sheet, and it tells you basically the things that you can spend power on. You can spend 1 power to activate a second model straight away before your opponent does. And this is what I was saying before about you can guarantee that you're going to get the next turn, next round by activating extra models. You can add a dice to a roll. So if you're going to attack your opponent, you can spend 1 power point to add a dice to that roll. You can force the fatigue action as well. You can clear fatigue, and then for 2 points you can do a group defense, a group shoot, or a group assault. And what that means is if you have, say, 3 of your grunt, let's just say man-at-arms models, you can activate all 3 of them together to basically run up and attack at the same time. In doing this, you've activated 3 models at once, and again, it's another way to try and guarantee you get first turn next round. You also have a warband special ability as well, which will be on your warband card, and this is something that is only specific to yours. So that's the standard power uses there. Movement is just as you would expect. Because of the square bases, you basically, as you come up to an obstacle, you basically align to it. You can get knocked down, basically. So what happens is, once your model goes to 0 wounds, as long as it's not a grunt model, I'll come on to grunt in a second, you basically roll nerve. And each of your model will have a nerve value. Let's say your nerve value is a 4+. You roll your nerve check on a 4+. Basically, you are not killed, but you are knocked down. So that's what knockdown does. Unfortunately, if you're a grunt model, you don't get a nerve challenge. If you're a grunt model and you go down to 0 wounds, you're out of the game. You can obviously do vertical movement, you can jump, you can fall down. This is where I explained before about line of sight. It tells you a little bit here about what is and what isn't line of sight. Ranged attacks. Again, a bit like Dead Zone, you add dice because of stats and take dice away for like negative stuff. You tend not to kind of to change up your stats so much. Although there is some instances where you do change your stats as well. Melee attacks, armor rolls. So basically, let me just very quickly. Is there a card here? No, there's not. Let me get one of these cards again, and I'll show you exactly what we're kind of looking at here. So let's have a look at this salamander here. So this salamander can SP is your speed. I'll tell you what. Let me zoom into one that's. Why won't it let me move that about? Oh, I just won't. Yeah, we'll use this one here. So SP is speed 5, can move 5 inches on a walk action, 10 on a run. Melee is 4+, so if you're going to hit in melee, you're hitting on a 4+, and here it tells you you roll 2d8s, so you're rolling 2d8s, hitting on 4+. This salamander doesn't have a ranged weapon, so it has no range. It's got a 5+ on armor, so if I was to get hit, any successful hits, I would roll that number of dice, and I'd have to get a 5+. Nerve is the one I was telling you about. It doesn't count here because it's a grunt model though. It does get used for kind of breaking as well when you're losing too many models. Wounds is how many wounds it has, so basically you take 2 points of damage and you're dead. And then height is the height model it is. This is to do with line of sight and seeing over obstacles and things. And crushing strength is like a special bonus, which basically gives you an extra dice, I think it is, in melee for crushing strength. So that's kind of how the game works. It's actually pretty straightforward. The real tactics are in when you use those power dice, trying to make sure you get first turn, next turn, and the fact that the scenarios are not all about killing each other. They're things like kind of finding. Let me just go to the main rule book, and I'll show you some of the, if I can find some of the scenarios, just to give you an example of the kind of scenarios that's in there. Whereabouts are they? Here they go. So we've got some of these scenarios. So for example, this one is light the beacon. Scenario rules, you basically, roll off, decide who will be the attacker, who will be the defender. The attacker has a warband to 200 points, the defender only has 175. Place the beacon objective marker on the table. The beacon starts the game unlit, and the attacker completes all the deployment first. You can interact with the beacon, and the model must be standing in base contact with it, not engaged by an enemy. And essentially, what did it say there? The attacking player wins if the beacon is lit at the end of the last round. So the defending player wins if the beacon is not lit or has been put out, doused by the end of the last round. So it's not even about killing. There's an objective there, for example, where the attacker is trying to light the beacon, and the defender is trying to put it out or stop them from lighting it. So it's relatively straightforward. It's all to do with the kind of the depth of tactics in how you use those power dice, how you use the fatigue. You can retaliate. So if I hit you, you can hit me back if you've not been taken out. But then what that does, it stops you from kind of activating. You can use a fatigue point to hit back. All those kind of things. Let's see where we're up to. I'm just going to dive back in. I'll dive in here. Lee Burns is saying, looks good, got a whole bunch of old fantasy stuff, never played any skirmish games with them, this might be ideal. Yeah, it's definitely worth giving it a try, mate. VJ says, maybe do a web bundle where you can select everything that's in the starter. Yeah, like a one-click thing, I would agree with that, mate, because if you are new to the game, it's sometimes you don't necessarily always know what you can get. VJ saying, feel free to take that idea on board for zero cost to Mantic. James says, I like these models. The AOS models all seem a bit fancy somehow. These Kings of War models feel a lot more Warhammer somehow. They've definitely got like an older style feel to them, but I think some of the newer stuff like the Northern Alliance have got a very much kind of like what they call the things from Game of Thrones, the Wildlands. They've got that kind of feel about them. In fact, let's have a look at some of the models and stuff. So we were talking before about the. Let's go. Actually, let's do it on the Mantic side because we can zoom in a little bit more on their. We can zoom a little bit more on their miniatures. So we'll start with the Basileans. So yeah, this gives you an idea of what we've got here. So these are the Sisterhood Scouts, or might just be the Sisterhood models. These are the Men-at-Arms, I think it is. There's the Scout models. I mean, these are new ones. They are very nice. I mean, you can see there's plenty of detail on them. You can see this kind of like quilting and the padding and stuff. The little gems on the knee pads. The face is quite nice. These guys have got these. I don't know if they've got, if you can see on these any of the others, they've got like a kind of like a shield which has a gap in the top where they can actually kind of stand with the shield and poke the spear through the shield to kind of attack while they're defending themselves, kind of thing. They're quite nice models as well. There's plenty of detail. I just kind of like painted them silver and kind of and just washed over the top, and they came up really nice. Ones with kind of banners and stuff. There's these kind of like panthers that they have. This is like one of the paladin models. They're really nice, and these are all PVCs or plastics as well. So yeah, it's quite a nice set. That the ones that are in the resin expansion or the resin edition stuff. There's an Abyss, there's a Dictator, and a Ogre Palace Guard as well. And again, these are quite nice models. That's the Ogre Palace Guard. That's the Abyss. You can see the resins are fantastic. I have to say they're really nice quality. Don't be put off by the amount of detail that's on them. They dry brush, they wash really well. So that's the Basileans there. The Dwarfs. Now for some reason the Dwarfs are slightly different. They kind of split them up into different things. There's kind of a starter set here, which has got 10 miniatures in it. And some of these are new models. As you can see here, these are kind of the newer ones. And then some of them are the older dwarf models as well. So there's a bit of a mixture in there of the different stuff. They've also got things like the Mastiff Packmaster. They've got Iron Watch. They've also got a Steel Juggernaut. I got one of these to paint up for my Kings of War army, for my King of War dwarfs. It's a really nice model as well. That's Spunky Taz. Thank you very much, Spunky Taz. Yeah, these are the resin one. This is a resin model, and they're all particularly really nice. So what you'll see here down the side, these are the ones where they have done Vanguard sort of like faction boxes for them. That doesn't mean that they're the only factions in the game. Let's have a quick look at another one. Let's have a look at the Night Stalker one, for example. So again, there's a starter, like a warband set, and then a booster set. Again, these are all a mixture of plastics and PVCs. I've just painted these up for mine, and I used contrast only, and I literally got this full box done in like about 3 hours, and they look great. I'm more than happy with them. There's enough detail on them that they really do kind of paint up really nicely. So I whizzed through those just as a bit of a test, really, to see what could I do only using contrast paints, and I whizzed through the whole box in about 3 hours. So, and I'll get some pictures of them up in the Facebook group later. But yeah, there's some nice models in there, and then there's stuff in the these are the resin expansion ones. There's a Mind Screech, a Banshee, and a Shade. See them there. They're really crisp, really nice resin models. So let's have a quick look at the Northern Alliance as an example. Somebody asked, was there undead? There is undead, and I'll come on to those ones in a second. Again, these are Northern Alliance. You can see they're very much that kind of like wildling kind of Game of Thrones-esque feel to them. Again, plastic ones, these ones as well. They're just really nice. They're really great just to put in, and because you're not painting lots of them, I mean these work really well as well, with a couple of browns and a wash over them as well. So sadly, I don't think it's showing you the Snow Troll, which is what's on there. The Snow Troll's a really nice model. And then in the booster set, we've got these three as well. So I think it's the Ice Queen, is it? Ice Queen, a Frostfang Rider, and Thegan, who's like kind of like the leader guy. This guy here, but yeah, these are really nice models as well. This one particularly looks really nice. Loads of detail, perfect for dry brushing as well. So that's just a bit of a taster of the kind of models that you can get in there as well. Now, what I will also show you as well is coming. There we go. Coming in September, there's going to be the Ogre models are coming for Kings of War Vanguard. At the minute, you can just use the models that are in the standard Kings of War in a kind of like a basic list. These are some of the new ones that are coming. I forget what they're called. I'm not even going to try and pretend I can pronounce them. But let me just move these around. Let me just zoom out a little bit. But you can see again, loads of detail on them. I love the way that kind of the shell casing's coming out the back of the gun there with a little whiff of smoke on it as well. Full of sort of spare shells around here. Cartridges, I should say. And then I think this one's like kind of like the mother, like a female ogre maiden type thing. I forget what she's called. But yeah, really nice. And these are the new ones that are coming this September. So, how are we doing for time? 10:10. Have I missed anything I wanted to talk about on here? Ice and Iron is the only thing I wanted to talk about. Ice and Iron is an expansion. It came out last summer, I think it was. I've got it here. And basically what it's got in this expansion here is it has some extra campaign settings which basically build on the campaign from the original core rulebook. It's got the addition of like food and weather table because it works on really kind of extreme weather conditions. So having food and stuff before a battle can be important. It's got a new exploration table. It also adds a campaign floor for 2, 3 or 4 players as well. And then it has a number of new scenarios, including King of the Hill, which is a multiplayer scenario as well. Now it does have updated warbands, however, all of the information that is in this expansion is on the free warband PDF. So unless you really want more campaign stuff, or unless you want some new scenarios, I'd suggest giving this one a miss for a little while until you kind of feel like you've got enough out of the core rules. It's really well written. It's got more background in it as well. It kind of continues the story from the original one, but I wouldn't say it was it's not like a must-have type thing. It's more if you've kind of exhausted the scenarios from the first one and you're looking to, or you've played your campaign, you're looking to expand your campaign, then this is definitely worth picking up. But it's not like kind of an absolutely must-buy, I would say. What we got here? Busey saying you could proxy load of Poxwalkers from the Dark Imperium box, 100% mate. You could use them as undead, or you could use them as you could even use them as Northern Alliance and think of them as kind of like they've turned or something like that. Andrew Fairbanks is saying they're a bit more grounded and dirty. Yeah, it's not kind of like sort of high shiny fantasy stuff, is it really? Let's have a look. Scott's saying might do a samurai faction. Things like Brotherhood and what's it called, League of Rhodia and stuff like that. Some of the factions where Mantic don't do miniatures for them, they're perfect for doing that kind of stuff. Aaron saying that's a really cool mechanic. I forget what we're talking about, but thank you very much. Peter saying, is there an undead faction? Yes, there is an undead faction, mate. Antonio's in as well. Nice to see you, Antonio. How are you doing? He says, can't stay to watch, but pop in and say hi, and also to upgrade my Patreon. Thank you very much, Antonio. That's very, very kind of you. I don't know if I've missed that, have I, mate? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. James Brace, a nice World of Warcraft vibe. It's got that kind of feel with me, hasn't it? John Estel says Berserker, Bully, Boomer Sergeant, and a Matriarch. That's what they're called. Thank you very much, sir. Mark Burracloth says, forget about the Queen. I have that model from an open day. Lee Russ is saying Vanguard stuff has been some of Mantic's best stuff to date. Yeah, I agree, mate. When I first saw them, it definitely felt like Mantic took a step forward. I think the fact that now most of their new stuff is really good. They almost just seem like, oh well, that's what Mantic do now. But I remember when Vanguard first came out, and those models, like the Night Stalker models, when they first came out, and the Northern Alliance ones, they were a real kind of step on in quality from where Mantic had been. Simon, thank you very much for the names of those. Yes, Berserker, Bully, Boomer Sergeant, and Matriarch. Razlov says, by the way, guys, come on, Vanguard has a halfling vampire, if this doesn't convince you. Pomsy saying, I think I'm going to have to get a dwarf set. There's some nice dwarfs in there, mate, to be fair. Peter Nicholas says you didn't do the undead. I will show you the undead, Peter Nicholas. Let me go back and show you them. So, undead. There is an undead box, which again is a mixture of old stuff and some new stuff. So in here you get hard plastic skeleton warriors, zombies, ghouls, a resin wraith, a resin archosaur necromancer, and an undead. And the cards. Sorry. So I'll show you. So that's what you get inside. So these 3 are existing older plastic ones. This one's a resin wraith, and this one's a new resin as well. But they are particularly nice, to be fair. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with the old Mantic zombies and skeletons and stuff either. They paint up really, really nice. I've got loads of them from when I first started looking at the Kings of War. They've also got some really nice stuff. So there's a new model here as well. This Gold Blight is particularly nice. Love this model. It's the kind of thing I would love to build to get just to kind of paint up and stuff. Just absolutely looks like it's got some kind of like wolf's head type thing here. Absolutely horrendous looking thing. Not something that you'd want to bump into in a pub. And then there's these booster ones as well. And in the booster ones we've got a vampire halfling, a resin bat swarm, a resin crypt gouger, and a resin barrow white. So that's all. And again, this one, I love that model as well. It looks really, really cool. There's your halfling vampire, your white, and the bat swarm as well. So yeah, there's a good mix of stuff for them as well, mate. James Braces, I do like a campaign that is limited to players. I always play with one mate. An open campaign like GW could be better. Yeah, so there's options basically to kind of, I mean, the normal campaign in the main book I think is kind of 2 players, but the ones in the Ice and Iron are kind of 2, 3 or 4 players, and there's some really nice kind of like charts showing you how to split it out and at what point level to start your games and how to level up between games and stuff. John still says the new scenarios in Ice and Iron are the main reasons to buy it. Some really great scenarios in there. There are actually, mate. Maybe I'm doing it a bit of a disservice because I mean one of the scenarios is meant to be kind of like on a icy kind of hillside, and your models are actually sliding across the board each turn, and you have to kind of fight against that because you don't want to fall off the end of the board. It's pretty cool. Scott says he's just been paying his postage for the red grass painting handle. I did mine, mate, just before the stream started. Jason said I wouldn't like to wake up in the morning with that beast lying next to me. Mark says, did you mention the objectives? I missed that bit if you did. I didn't mention the objectives, mate, but let me go back and show what they are. So you can also get the objective set, which is, if I can find it, let me go back to the Mantic site and find it for you. Which again is optional. You don't have to have it. It's in the accessories section. So what you've got is these battlefield objectives. I've done a review of these on my channel as well, so you can check them out. And these are essentially the different pieces for the different scenarios. So there's a one for I think it's called 3 Places of Power or something like that, or I forget what it's called, that one now. This one's a portal. There's got one Free the Princess. There's a one called Dragon's Egg. This one is about the messenger, where basically there's a dead messenger and you're trying to search him to try and find the plans. This is the one I was telling you about before, about putting out the fire or light the beacon. There's some kind of treasure chests and things as well. So you get these plastic pieces. These are all that kind of brown plastic that the new Mantic like terrain stuff comes in. Really, really nice. Again, I've got a review of these on my site as well, so you can check those out. Now, when I first got mine, they came with the card tokens. I don't think they do anymore now, for whatever reason. It doesn't say that it comes with the tokens anymore. So I'm pretty certain, 99.9% sure it doesn't come with the tokens anymore. But when I got mine, going back like 2.5 years ago or something, it did. So yeah, so that's the objective set. James is saying easy for one player to fall behind in a 2-player open campaign. Yeah, there's some pretty good stuff, and I've got a video as well which basically explains how the campaign system works in a bit more detail. Definitely check it out if you're interested, but it shows how it kind of balances out so one person can't really fall behind too far. James Braces, can you imagine GW releasing the codex for a faction and not releasing the models? Yeah, it's more to do with the fact that Kings of War, when it first started, had a lot of lists to basically try and encourage ex-GW fantasy players to come across. So they made lists to use up all of the old GW races, and then over time, Mantic have been kind of filling those lists up and stuff, and that some of that carried across to Vanguard. Peter saying it's Eddie from the Monsters. Does look a bit like that. Jimmy G says, everyone I know who plays this has the Ice and Iron supplement. It was a must-buy for those who needed the fluff fix. It was, mate, to be fair. And I think at the time it was also the only place where you could get the updated points. Now, that's not the case anymore now. It was originally, and it's not now. So unless you want the scenarios, it's not as a must-buy as it was originally, I think. Jason is getting EverQuest vibes. James Braces, love these objectives. Yeah, it's just nice to have those particular. I mean, they're not. You don't have to have them. You can use tokens, but they're just nice to kind of bring your battlefield to life. VG says, I know when I think of objectives, I think of dead horses. It's a great mission, actually. It's the one that Sam and I played when we did a battle report. Essentially what happens is you've got a dead kind of messenger in the middle of the table. The first person to get there basically searches the messenger, and you roll a dice. See, on a 1 to a 4, you find the plans. On a 5 to a 6, you don't find them, but you find a clue. If you don't find them, you roll again, and then there's a map that you basically read, and it tells you the location of where the plans are. So it's a case of like somebody's rushing to get there, and then they get there and the plans are not there. They turn out to be somewhere else, and somebody else is already over there. It really kind of drags you around the board. It's a good mission. Phil Tolhurst said, I remember how small 20mm bases are. I think it's the worst part of this game. It's coming back to me now. Yeah, there's quite a lot on 20mm bases, to be fair. But what I would say is that the bases are not, how would I say? They're not too small for the miniatures, if you like. It's not like it's not like they're tiny kind of thing. Peter saying the objectives are at least as good as the minis. The thing with the objectives is there's nothing to build either. They come they come built. And if anybody's familiar with the terrain crate stuff from Mantic, it's that kind of quality. Peter Coomer says, I'm just too happy with the Song of Blades and Heroes for Skirmish. Read the Vanguard rules, didn't do it for me. Yeah, and I'm not suggesting these are for everybody, mate. It's just there's a lot of people kind of asking about doing a Vanguard slow grow. I just want to kind of give people a chance to have a look through stuff, ask any questions, and understand kind of if this is the kind of thing they're looking for. Lord Maiden says, thank you very much for this. How was the Abyssal miniatures to paint? I found them really, really good, mate. I wonder if I can... I'll tell you what, in the background while we're talking here, I'll try and find a picture of them, because they're on YouTube. So because they were on one of my battle reports. Oh, why is that not typing in there? That's not very good, is it? I'll find them while we're chatting, and I'll search across to it. Where else are we up to? Luke says, so is this the new slow grow league, or has that not been decided yet? It hasn't been decided yet, mate. I just thought with the popularity of that, I thought I'd just kind of see what people thought of it, really. If everybody's voting for it, are they still up for it after this? Vanguard, BlackJack. Let's see if I can find my video. I can show you right at the start. There is here it is, battle report. Is it? Oh, it's not. I tell you what, it's not easy to find things, is it? Phil Tolhurst saying the only minis I can recall fit nicely on 20mm bases are GW Night Goblins. John Estel says that giant scenario is awesome. Yeah, the giant one's great as well, mate. Stephen Poland says, love your channel. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you very much, mate. You are more than welcome. Appreciate that. I'll tell you what, let me go. Let me shut some of this stuff down because it's running really slow. It's because my computer's trying to do 10 things at once. That'll probably be why, won't it? So I can scroll across it. All I'm trying to do is get you the get you the picture of my stuff, because it painted up really nicely. It painted up really nice. Why is it not loading? I tell you what, it's because it's opened up. This is what happens when you try and do two things at once, isn't it? That's it. We're getting there now. We're cooking on gas, folks. Or I would be if it was. Oh, I'm just going to crack on. I'll get there in a second. Bloggy's saying if the next slow grow is 40k slow grow, count me in. It'll help me get my 2 Indomitors boxes. The thing is, mate, I said this before as well about the slow grow stuff. Is that actually, if 8th edition isn't enough to get you interested, if 9th edition, sorry, isn't enough to get you interested, then I don't know what is. Do you really need me to be kind of like to be conducting a slow grow for 40k? And I'm just conscious of like kind of everybody's talking about 40k at the minute. And am I doing it for the right reasons? Because like I said, do you really need a slow grow to be motivated? Is 9th edition not enough to do that? Ponzi saying pause all those torrents. I think it's because I'm streaming at the same time as I'm kind of reading the chat at the same time as I'm on 3 websites with different stuff on it. Peter saying off subject, did I hear Indomitors will be 125 quid? You did, mate. You did say it will be 125 quid. Right, I think I'm almost here now. Now I don't know if that's going to show up very well, but let me see if that. So that is how I painted up mine, my abyssal stuff. They were super quick. Kind of painted them red, bit of dry brush with kind of a lighter red and like an orangey red on top of it as well. It's not the best of pictures, I apologise, but it's all I've got to hand in the short term. But if you come to the Facebook group, I'll dig out the proper pictures that I painted them, and if I can't find those pictures, I'll take some new ones. But that was those. But yeah, super easy to paint. Super easy. That's it. We'll just get rid of that one. Because it seems to be slowing down. It seems to love slowing down my computer for some reason. Where we are. Yeah, Peter saying, yeah, nothing against Vanguard. Just thought I'd mention I stick with Song of Blades or Mordheim. And honestly, for me, Fantasy Skirmish is more enjoyable with bigger warbands like Dragon Rampant. I think the point is, I think that once you start getting bigger warbands, I think sometimes that takes it out of the element of being a small scale kind of like manageable game for a lot of people. A bit off topic now. This is massively off topic, but bloody hell, I love the smell of DAS. VJ is saying he ordered Monster Apocalypse box at the weekend. Super excited. Lord Maiden says thanks very much for that. They look great from the picture. I'm going to have to go for them now. Yeah, they're nice minis, mate. If you check out the Facebook group, the BlackJack Legacy Community Facebook group, I'll try and dig out the pictures. They're definitely on there somewhere, mate. Blizzard is saying slow grows give me something to work towards with my painting, keeps me engaged with a manageable goal. Yeah, and to be honest, that's why I kind of asked the community what they want to do. It's all right me choosing the stuff that I'm interested in, but at the end of the day, this is a community channel. It's supported, and it's your financial support as well as your kind of sort of just turning up and watching my stuff. Your support that keeps this whole thing going. So I want to see what people want to do. So yeah, that's why the next slow grow is a kind of community choice, really. What I will say is, Tony Boo's Leiden says, what is a slow grow? So essentially, mate, it's just a way to get people together to like aim at to paint a certain amount of models on a specific game where we all want to kind of like paint the same stuff by a certain time. And the idea is basically with things like Kings of War, to get a 2,000 points, there was like a monthly target, 250 points a month over a number of months, 8 months, to get the 2,000 points. That was the idea of a slow grow. When we're talking about games like Dead Zone or games like Vanguard, which were a lot smaller, it was more a case of start small. So let's say for Vanguard, we might say a starter box or 200 points of models, paint up 200 points of models by 6 weeks' time or something like that. And then from then on, you can then choose to paint the rest of the models that you've got. You can choose to pick up another faction and carry on with it, or buy some additional stuff to kind of fill out your roster. But the idea is just small, manageable kind of little kind of targets, and because everybody else is painting it and there's a deadline, it gives you a bit of motivation. I don't care what the quality of the painting's like. I don't care what kind of standard you want to paint to. You can paint a golden demon. You can just kind of spray it with a spray can and dip it if you want to do it. Do it whatever you want to do, but it's just about trying to get stuff painted and to kind of motivate people to do it. Peter says, on topic, are you going to start slow grow or do you want a new poll first? No, I've already done a poll, mate. It was in the Facebook group. At the minute, the reason Vanguard, I'm talking about Vanguard tonight, is because it was in second place. 40k was in first place, but I am aware 40k was obviously always going to be popular with 9th edition coming. And my point being, am I adding anything doing a 40k slow grow when people are already kind of hyped for it anyway? James Brace says, would it be mad to do 2 slow grows? You don't need to do both, mate. I had considered that, mate, to be fair, because it might kind of keep everybody happy type thing, because there's been a few people there having a bit of a moan about it being 40k. There's been some people saying you should do something for another company, a smaller company that needs some support or all this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I'm going to paint what I'm going to paint anyway, regardless of what kind of campaign we do. It's more what you want, more what everybody else wants. So it doesn't really, it's no kind of hardship to me, really. I just want to kind of know what everybody else is doing. Oliver Orr says, do you know when Mantic are going to update and flesh out more warbands like Rhodia, the Herd, or Twilight Kin? I don't think they've got any plans to do those, mate, anytime soon. I think they've still got a lot of fleshing out to do with the warbands they've already got, with the factions they've already got. They were always only there really to kind of allow the old fantasy players to come along and do their stuff. And I think the way they see it is there are so many people out there that kind of just use their own models to do that. They'd probably have, in order to do a full new faction, it's quite the kind of the investment. So for example, the reason Night Stalkers came along and Northern Alliance came along was because of the Vanguard Kickstarter. That allowed them to do some new plastic sculpts, which then developed into full Kings of War armies when all of that kind of tooling was paid for through a Kickstarter. So unless they're going to go back to Kickstarter anytime in the future to do that, I'd say it's probably highly unlikely, mate. Standard Tabletop says, stupid thing is I want to do a slow grow, but I know chances are I won't play the game. But it does still have to be a game that appeals and I might play it. And that's the thing, mate. That's why I'm voting, basically. That's why I did the vote thing, really, to give people an option, to give people a choice. Because if I do a smaller one, like a 6-week kind of like challenge, we'll do another one in 6 weeks' time, and then we'll do another one 6 weeks after that. So it doesn't really kind of matter what it is, but that's why I'm putting it out to a community as a vote, really. So if you don't fancy doing this next one, just paint what you want for 6 weeks and wait for the next one to come along, kind of thing. Skullmunch is in as well. Nice to see you, mate. He says, evening all, lurking as I'm building some models. Just my 2 cents, but if 40k wins, surely that means that's what the community wants, so seems silly to do another game. I agree with that, mate, but I think the problem I've got is, do people really want it? Because at the end of the day, 40k is huge, and it's like, if you're not motivated to paint it for the new edition coming out, is my challenge thing going to really kind of help that? And the other thing is, and I'm taking a bit of flack if I'm perfectly honest. People seem to be whinging their bits off about it, so I'm not sure. That's all. I'm not sure. Personally, for me, I don't really care. Like I say, I'm going to be painting what I'm going to paint anyway. Busey saying, how about a 40k fast grow 1 week to paint the Indomitors box? Skullman says, wouldn't 40k slow grow make more sense than a skirmish game? It's less about the slow grow, mate, and it's more about the challenge, really. Because what I've found is, when I did the Kings of War one, it's over 8 months. It's got a couple of months left to go now. People start full of enthusiasm, but then as it goes on past 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, people seem to kind of wane and get a bit tired of it over time. There's loads of people still doing it, I'll be completely honest, but there's people with loads of energy and then they get sidetracked. What I found when I did the 6-week one for Vanguard was that 6 weeks was a nice quick hit. So if we're talking for like a skirmish game, 6 weeks to 2 months is perfect to kind of say, look, you need to paint up a starter box, you need to paint up 200 points, whatever it is. And when it comes to 40k, I'm not sure I personally want to paint up a full kind of 2,000 point army. I'm looking to pay it like 25 sort of power level, like a small combat patrol thing. So it depends, mate. It depends. Either way, I'm easy with it. To be fair, it's kind of one of them things that's at the back of my head. It's at the back of a list of a million things to do. But I thought I'd ask what people want to do because you know, now's as good a time to ask people anyway. Peter says, I think Andy thinks GW don't need support. Yeah, I'm not. It's not about supporting GW, mate. What I mean is that they're spending fortune on marketing at the minute, and they are marketing it to everybody. Is me running a kind of a challenge thing for people actually going to motivate anybody to paint anything? Like, if GW can't motivate you to do it yourself with a brand new edition coming, that's my point. Is it almost kind of pointless? Am I better off doing a 40k one in 6 months' time when the hype's died off and people need to kick up the arse to get stuff painted? That's kind of what I mean. That's kind of what I mean. Blizzard says, Mantic are coming out with Ratkin models this fall and this winter. They are, mate, but to be fair, they already do kind of... They've done rat models, if you like, for the Veermen, so it's not like it's completely new to them. But it's starting... I believe it's starting with Vanguard first, maybe coming to a full faction for Kings of War. Tony says, thanks for one of those things. I kind of knew what it was in a vague way, but no one's ever explained it. Yeah, so the slow grow idea is to build up over a long period of time. If I'm doing smaller kind of skirmish games, they're more like kind of like a short-term challenge type stuff. And Skullmunch is saying, yeah, it's what the community wants to paint. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. As I said before, my only question is, do they want to paint it anyway? Like, am I making any difference to that? John Estel says, Rory, I reckon, will come with the League of Infamy Kickstarter. Yeah, I forgot about that, actually. I forgot about the League of Infamy stuff. There is some stuff that's coming through that, isn't there? So I think we might start to see some stuff. I think that's where the Ratkin's almost coming from as well, isn't it? Peter said he ordered these Land Raider Redeemer yesterday. Scott saying, Burrs and Badges slow grow. I'm happy with that, mate, but not enough people voted for it. This is what I mean. It's all right, kind of people wanting, like, saying support. Why don't we do something to support these smaller companies? And then nobody votes for them. Like, if I don't, I'm not going to bring it up on my screen now. I think I took a picture of it. Let me find the picture, because essentially, so the votes were so far when I took this picture, there were 71 votes for 40k. There were 61 votes for Kings of War Vanguard, which was like, and then the next one was Dreadball, which was 30 votes. So those two were way clear of everything else, which is why I kind of thought we'd do this tonight. Then we've got Warcry with 25 votes. We've got AOS with 24 votes. We've got Dead Zone with 23 votes, and we've just done a Dead Zone challenge, so I won't be doing that one again anytime soon. We've got Walking Dead with 23 votes, and then Burrs and Badges was the next one with about 20, I think it was. And then there was loads of others way down. So I'm happy to get to those ones later on once we've kind of done the ones that people want to do. But there's no point me picking one like that's got, like, say 10 votes when there's something that has like 71 votes or 61 votes, if you like. Where we are. Jason saying, I'm a big GW buyer, but Vanguard sounds more appealing to my taste than Warcry. I love Warcry, Jason. I'll be perfectly honest, mate. I had a game of it yesterday. In fact, I had 2 games of it yesterday, and I love Warcry. It's I just love how simple it is, mate. Skullmunch says, get a skeleton horde contrast and you're done. Steve says, do a 6-week Vanguard one, by then 40k should be settled in, and do a 40k 8-month one like the Kings of War one. I could do, mate. I'm just, VG is saying, whinging from gamers never. I'm not sure people really want to do a full kind of 2,000 point 40k army. I think people will just, I think they'll fall by the wayside and get bored of it. Like, I want to paint 40k models to play combat patrol stuff. I'm literally talking 25 power level. I'm not talking about building up big armies for myself. So if people want to do like a kind of like an entry point, like somebody was talking about doing like the campaign thing, like the crusade thing. But the problem is you need to paint enough models to start on that crusade. So the kind of the challenge would be to get to the point where you can start playing with painted models. So that's all I was really aiming at. If people really want like a 8-month sort of 2,000 point slow grow, I'm happy to organise it. I might not take part in it myself, but I'm more than happy to organise it. Fly Mama says, you did say Burrs and Badger's slow growth a few weeks ago. Yeah, I did, and then not enough people are interested in it, essentially. And this is the problem. It's like there's no point me kind of putting the time and effort into doing a slow grow challenge for like 10 people or something like that. So whilst I would love loads of people to get involved and support some of these games, if like you can check out the vote yourself, you can see the people that are voting for them. I'm just not sure people are interested in it. Where are we at? Someone says that's fair, mate. I have both games, so I'm aware. Peter says he's still doing the Dead Zone challenge. Christian says, I think the Kings of War slow grow might have lost some steam due to lockdown. A lot of people were looking forward to getting together for the 1,000 point. Yeah, I think so, mate. I think that is a fair point, to be fair. And I think lockdown has really kind of done that, which is why I think these like sort of shorter 6-week challenges are good at a point in time now where people are still not really up and gaming yet. And maybe starting a longer one might not be such a bad idea to get something painted to start like sort of playing down the line. I'll need to give it some thought, mate, because they take quite a bit of organising and they take quite a bit of keeping on top of, to be fair. Barry says he still hasn't painted his towel from his 7th edition box. Whiskey Tango says GWS plenty of support. Nice to see other games getting support in general. Yeah, and this is not necessarily about me supporting any games or supporting any companies. I've got no affiliation with any company or any game. I don't get paid by any companies. I'm not kind of getting anything out of this. So I don't really care what that game is. It's more about the kind of the community vote. And my Facebook community and my YouTube community, to be fair, is tended to not really be that many GW people. And I think that that 40k vote has been so popular because people are hyped for a new edition coming, which is exactly the point of, do you really need me to run a challenge to motivate you to paint the stuff when you're already motivated? That's why you're voting for it, kind of thing. So I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking the question, really, and I'm opening it up to you lot, to the community. Convince me what's the right thing to do, because I'm easy either way. Tiberius says, put it this way, would a Vanguard slow grow stop you painting new edition 40k? No, exactly. That's kind of what I thought. Flying Mammal saying Malifaux just because they're amazing models. I put Malifaux in there myself. I'd quite like to do a Malifaux kind of slow grow stuff, but yeah, it was way down the list. That's why this is what I mean about it, basically, because there's two ways to look at it. If I do a Malifaux, let's take Malifaux as an example, or Burrows and Badges. If I do one of those as a slow grow, does that attract new people into the group the way maybe Dead Zone did before? Or am I better off going with the popular vote for the people that are already there? These are all the questions I have, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to grow the community in a friendly way as well, because this is my job as well. The more people in the community, the higher chance they are of people that support the Patreon, the higher chance there is of me making this kind of work full time and continuing what I've kind of started down that road. So I'm trying to cater to the community. I'm trying to think of it with a business head on. I'm working through all those things, and it's kind of new to me, really. When it was just a bit of a hobby stuff, didn't really care. I just painted my stuff. I didn't run a lot of challenges because I didn't have time to keep on top of them. Now I've got that time, it's a bit different. Peter says that maybe it means people want to pay 40k for the new edition and not be distracted by a slow grow for another game system. What I mean, mate, is nobody has to take part in it. So, for example, if I did Vanguard, for example, because it was second, there's 61 people want to take part in it. The people that voted for 40k will still paint the 40k stuff and probably won't take part in the Vanguard one. If I picked something like Malifaux, for example, which might have had 10 people voting for it, would I only have 10 people in it, or would that be enough to kind of attract all the other people that didn't vote for it but think, there's some nice models, I might just paint it? That's all the stuff I'm thinking in the background. But I'm not expecting anybody to do both. This is what I mean. Are people voting for 40k because they're going to be painting it anyway, because there's a new edition coming? This is what I mean, and that's why maybe timing wise, maybe like I said before, maybe I'm better off waiting 6 months to do a 40k one when people need some motivation to paint all the stuff they bought at launch and haven't done anything with. Flying Mammal says, I didn't see you voting. Can we still vote? Yeah, it's still open, Ruth. It's in the Facebook group. But yeah, I haven't closed it. I think I only put it up there on Thursday. I mean, there's hundreds of votes in there, but yeah. Tiberius says we've cleared out Dead Zone stock as well. Yeah, I've got no intent. Like, I mean, the other side of it is I didn't want to do another Mantic game straight after I've just done 2 Mantic games. But then when 40k is winning, people are moaning their tits off about, oh, it's GW, everybody does the GW. But I'm not choosing it. The community is choosing it. That's why I'm kind of completely confused about what people actually want. Whiskey Tango says Batman Miniatures game, Frostgrave, Drowned Earth, Wild West Exodus, Mythos, Carnival. They were all in the list, mate. They were all in the list, and people can vote for them if they want. But they just don't seem to be. James Brace says 40k hype is real now, and everyone will buy Indomitus at 125 quid. So a slow grow challenge could be really fun and get lots of people involved. However, mate, if they're all buying it and they're all hyped about it, they're going to paint it anyway. Am I better off doing something for the folks that are just not into 40k? Because the 40k players will paint their stuff regardless. Or do I just run 2? Do I just run 2 side by side? One for 40k and one for the people that are not interested in 40k. That's kind of where my head's going at the minute. Phil says the vote is popularity contest. I'd be interested in doing something off the bat, but you're right, it may not suit everyone. Yeah, and that's the thing. Fly Mammal saying, could you have 2 going? Yeah, I thought about that as well, to be fair. Joachim says, can't vote since I don't use Facebook. Sorry, mate. To be honest, mate, I did mention it in the Patreon group as well, where you are a member. So you're welcome to kind of give your thoughts in the Patreon group. Because what I thought was as well is there's potentially I might run a separate one in the Patreon group as well, if for the people that kind of like support me there as well, something for them to do. Tim says he's been running his own slow grow since lockdown, about a stone heavier. Yeah, it makes 2 of us, mate. Steve says, do a poll to see how many points people want to do in 40k. The problem is, mate, I just the more I ask, the more variations I get. I can't run this as a democracy kind of thing. At some point, I just need to make a decision. The difference is I wanted everybody to vote just to try and see where the vote went, really. And I did say it in the vote. I still get to choose myself anyway, because it's kind of because at the end of the day I've got to run it. So I just think that the more options I give people and the more questions I ask, the more diluted it becomes. Barry's saying Vanguard sounds great. I already have the book. Honestly, though, I'll be on 9th edition bandwagon when it comes out. Yeah. Jimmy G says Warlords are doing 40k slow grow for 9th. Has about 50 people in the Facebook group. Yeah, this is again, mate. This is my point, really. Like, are people doing it anyway? So, but what obviously the people in my group are not necessarily members of the Newcastle group. Do you know what I mean? They're from all over the world. So, and there's a lot of people who just kind of sort of hobby solo and just want some motivation to paint. Lee says 6-week challenge would be great. Nice break for me, as I've been doing 2,000 points of Space Marines all year already. Steve says, what do you mean I'm up to 3,500 points? You do it with 3,500 points a week, mate. You and Richard. VJ says Monster Apocalypse slow grow. You know you want to. I think it'd be just you in it, mate, if I'm honest. Mark says just check on Goblin Gaming and they state the tokens come with the objective pack, so some value there. I had a chat with Rob today and he said they didn't, so unless it's old stock that Goblin have got with them inside, yeah, just I would double check just in case, mate. James says challenge or no challenge, I fully intend on subjecting to the Discord group to my Necrons. I'm literally doing the right this second anyway. Nice one, mate. Tony says I'd be happy to do Malifaux, Wild West Exodus, Burrows and Badgers, Carnival, but I'm okay that they didn't get the attention. Yeah, and I think what will happen is over time we will get to all of these games, because we're not going to keep going back to Dead Zone every time. We're not going to go back to 40k every time. We're not going to go back to the same games. Once we've done those challenges, I want to try lots of other stuff before we come back and kind of go around a second time. So just because it's not the next challenge doesn't mean it won't be the one after that or the one after that. I'm just kind of putting this out there to get a feel really of amongst the kind of group. What I might do is I might put a poll up on YouTube as well for the kind of subscribers and things. I just want to get a feel of where people would like to paint. So at the end of the day, it's you that's painting. I'm not coming around and painting your miniatures for you. It's you and the rest of the community that basically will be doing this. So I just want to see what kind of stuff you're interested in. Tim Kelly says, democracy wins, doesn't it? Even when the result is wrong, like Brexit. Not in my group, mate. Christian says, with Boroughs and Badgers, you might get some new community members from the Old Sworn group. Yeah, but then I guess that's the same from any group, isn't it? Where if I did Malafor, if I did Wild West Exodus, or if I did Vanguard, or I guess that's the same for anyone, really. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Blizzard says he voted for 40k because he's got a huge backlog he needs to paint, but he's also got Vanguard, Dead Zone, EOS, Malafor, and more. Phil says if you run shorter challenges that are more paint a warband for skirmish games over a shorter period, you can go through them. Yeah, and that's kind of what I did with the Dead Zone one, mate. I think what it does is it builds up a bit of a buzz because it's only over a short period of time. We can do like sort of like probably maybe like 6 or 7 of those a year, really, to kind of blast through stuff. And then basically if you paint something up and get started playing that game with painted minis, you might decide that's the game for you, and you don't take part in any more challenges. You kind of stick playing that game. It's just something to introduce people to lots of other games, and this vote thing was for me to see where people's opinions were, and that's why I said you can vote for as many as you want, because I wanted to see the games that people were interested in. I was just surprised, or maybe I shouldn't have been surprised with 9th edition coming along, just how heavily weighted it was towards that. Peter says if they buy it, they're going to paint it anyway. I agree, mate, but then, like, for 40k for 9th edition, why is anybody buying that starter box if you have no intention of doing something with it? That's my point, really, because I'm all against that. It's all the kind of things I talk about, isn't it? About kind of, you know, if you're not going to use it, like, why bother, kind of thing. So do you really need me to run a challenge to motivate you to paint something that everybody's been hyped about for like a couple of months now? Yoakum says it's the same people hanging around Facebook as these live streams. Seems like more people here want something else. It's a mixture, mate, to be fair. It's a mixture. I mean, there's a good chunk of folks here in the live stream that basically are in the Facebook group. The problem is the slow grow stuff tends to be ran through the Facebook group because it's the easiest thing to control it. I can't control it through YouTube, if you like. It's not an easy way to interact with people when it comes to actually like day-to-day stuff. To be fair, the Discord stuff is probably easier, but then obviously not everybody's there. Luke saying that the poll alone got me looking at Vanguard closely, having not before. 40k being top of the list was nothing new to me, or probably many other people. You're here, you know what 40k is well enough. It surprised me from our group, mate, because our group has tended to not be 40k players. I think if I'd done that vote 6 months earlier, I don't think you'd have saw 40k at the top. I think the 9th edition is what pushed that to the top, which is kind of my point about I think people are already hyped for it anyway. So do I kind of ride that wave for a little bit because that's what people are interested in and that's what they're going to be painting anyway? Or do I do something else for the folks that's not interested? Or do I do both, which is probably where I'm going to end up. Luke's in there, you can't please everyone though, mate. No, I know that, mate. Our contest's a better thing than slow grows. I don't think so, mate. I mean, at the end of the day, which reminds me actually, at the end of the day, it was only for a £25 voucher that Mantic were giving away, and the person that won still hasn't been in touch to collect the prize. So I'm going to redraw it next week. If he hasn't been in touch by next week, I'm just going to redraw it and somebody else will get a £25 voucher. Because I tagged him on Facebook. It's not he submitted the picture of his painted Dead Zone strike team, and I tagged him to say he'd won, and I did it on the video, and he hasn't been in touch. So what more can I do? Jason saying that's a good idea. We're doing a 40k 9th later on when GW has plenty of new stuff out. That's every week, mate, isn't it? VJ saying, yeah, it would just be me and I'll be the first or last. Lord Maidens is just ordered the Abyssal Vanguard starter. Nice one, mate. Nice one. And Luke's in there, he voted for 5 or 6 things that interest him. That's kind of what I wanted people to do, mate. Because like, even if people have only got a passing interest in it, it gets it out there basically to see what people are interested in. It's almost like if it reaches a certain amount of people, even if it's only about 20, it might still be worth running it like a little bit further down the line. Especially, let's just for argument's sake, we did 40k in Vanguard this next one. And then in 6 weeks' time, I say, right, what's the next one going to be? But you can't vote for 40k, you can't vote for Vanguard, you can't vote for Kings of War, and you can't vote for Dead Zone, because they've all been done. How does that shift the voting down the other games? Or do people just go, I'm not interested in any of them, so I'm not voting for anything? That's what I mean. I think over time we'll start to see some of those other games getting pushed to the top. And part of me wants to do the 40k one now, because the hype's there, and then basically it's out of the way. Because then people can then go on and continue to paint their 40k armies, but then basically you can't choose that one again. So that's what I mean about sort of what will happen. Will we see the likes of Malifaux? Will we see the likes of Burrows and Badgers starting to get pushed to the top because the choices are limited, or will we just get people not voting anymore because they're not interested? That's why I think it's interesting to see it over time. Lord Maiden says, I can vote when I'm accepted. Let me accept you into the group, and if you've just asked to join there, I'm sure I'll have, if I can see where it is. There we go. There's a couple of people asked to join tonight. Ian, you're in the group, and the other one I'll have to look at because they haven't answered the questions yet. Where are we up to? Tony saying, you can come around and paint my minis. Yeah, no worries, mate. Steve saying he voted for Dreadball. Lee saying, why not do a system agnostic slow grown? Paint X minis every 2 weeks. I used to do that before, mate, to be honest. It was just a monthly thing where I used to do like a painting challenge. So it was like paint five or 10 models this month. Or take part in the challenge. Like it might be a winter themed basin, or it might be only paint using 3 colours or something like that. I used to do those ones before, but I think they were relatively low interaction. And to be honest, the other side of it was I didn't have the time to commit to kind of pushing them and trying to. The problem is Facebook is rubbish for trying to collate all of those like pictures together into one place, and they just get scattered around all over the place. The way it's worked the best is when I've done the Kings of War challenge in its own separate Facebook group, but then it takes it away from the main community. So I need to think about how's the best place to kind of do those kind of stuff. Because even when I did the Dead Zone one, I opened an event for it for people to put their pictures in, but not everybody did that. They were scattered around all over. Some people put them in the Dead Zone fanatics, some people put them in the normal group, some people didn't put them in at all, some people are not on Facebook, that kind of stuff. Scott saying Carnival Malifaux will be interesting. Did you vote for either of those, mate? That'll be what's interesting. Or you just changed your mind now? Phil says, I reckon we should do X-Wing painting challenge. Vijay saying Discord for the win. Discord makes it much, much easier, mate. It's so much easier because you've just got your separate little channel just to put all that stuff in. I love the way our Discord stuff is working now for the Patreons, because it's basically all of those separate conversations are in all the different places and stuff. I like the way that works. Unfortunately, I'm not about to open that up to everybody, because that's one of the perks of people helping and supporting me. So, where we're up to there. Kieran saying, with everyone being 40k mad, it would be nice to be able to go somewhere. It's not. If you were not sure 40k was right to do, and fellow voters, you wouldn't be asking. If you were not sure 40k was right to do, and follow votes, you wouldn't be asking. It's not about that I don't think it's right to do, mate. I just it's more about, is it the right time to do it? Like, is it almost irrelevant because people are painting it anyway? Do you know what I mean? That's all I'm thinking. Scott, how's your mini swap going on? Haven't even started, mate. I haven't even started it. I need to kind of. I don't even know what spare minis I've got to paint something for you, mate. Jason saying maybe do slow grow Vanguard and a 9th edition contest. But a contest for what, mate? And like, you know what I mean? Like what? Like when I did the Dead Zone one, Mantic gave me the voucher to give away. I can't see GW doing that. Lycian do both. Need to get his orcs sorted anyway, but fancy a bit of Vanguard. Ponzi said he forgot to get in touch. Just gives it, I reckon you should ride the 40k wave while you can. Best bet to get new faces into the gang. We shouldn't be hobby hipsters and ignore GW because they're mainstream. No, I agree, mate. I agree. Peter saying, what about generic sci-fi painting challenge? Would it be too general a subject? It ends up not really motivating people, mate, I think, because it is too generic. From experience, people like it to be kind of narrowed down, and it kind of forces them down a route to do something. It either makes them sort of join in and take part. Otherwise, you get into this whole thing about, well, does this count? Or, well, this game's only got 5 models. Does that count? Or this game, I've got to pay in 200 models for this one. Does that count? It ends up being really kind of just a bit woolly, really. What I found with the Kings of War one and the Dead Zone one, they were just so much more easy to kind of to control, because it was really kind of straight down the middle of like, this is what you need to do if you want to take part. That's it. Don't really care how you do it. I don't really care like what kind of painting scheme you have. Just that's all you got to do. Or for the Kings of War one, 250 points a month. I don't care whether it's a big beast. I don't care whether it's 3 units. I don't care if you miss it this month and you catch up next month. That's what I mean about that kind of stuff. Luke saying if he gets drawn out the second time, damn sure it'll be claimed. Kelly Cordell says that starter box is such a good deal. Yeah, it is not. It's not a bad deal, to be fair, mate. Napoleonics says Peter there, was it? Oh, where was that? Peter says, I'm voting for Napoleonics. I think, again, mate, that might be just you one, mate. Luke said, I think there's a point where you actually have to do what's best for your channel. I know it's about the community, but this community is also your living. Don't bite the hand that feeds. And that's where it gets muddy, mate, because the hand that feeds is the community. So that's why I have to really weigh that up, because I'm not a 40k channel. I've never played 40k before. So it's not like the whole channel has grown up around about being the other games away from 40k, really. Like, I've done some Warcry stuff, I've done a bit of Kill Team stuff, but it's not like dominated the stuff I've done. And I'm a bit concerned that at the moment with the 9th edition hype, I don't really want it necessarily I don't want it to take over the group, because that'll push out a lot of people that just don't play 40k, if you like. And I'm concerned about that kind of stuff, really. I mean, I'm being really honest with everybody here. It's like I could just kind of keep this to myself. I could have just picked the next challenge and just ignored it. But I'm just kind of just canvassing ideas, really. I'll still make the choice myself, but I'm just kind of canvassing ideas. Where are we up to? Yeah, Busey's saying there, Stranger didn't claim it. Are they still posting stuff? I've got no idea, mate. It's not a name I really recognised anywhere. I went back and double checked it, and they're definitely kind of obviously a member of the group, because they managed to post their stuff in the right place. I tagged them, even if they're still on Facebook. As long as they're on Facebook, they'll have got the tag to see it was there. But there's only so much I can do, mate. Roxanne says, have some Night Forest goblins stashed away, suddenly thinking they could be a Vanguard force in waiting. Anyone know if you can take cavalry such as Spider Riders? There is some cavalry in Vanguard for different things. I don't know if there's kind of like Spider Riders, but you could certainly proxy them as something. Kelly Cordell says, Combat Patrol, paint 1 HQ 1 week, a troop 1 week. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking if I was to do the 40k stuff. I'm not really talking about 8 months of getting to 2,000 points. If people want to do that, they can. But I'm talking about just painting up a small Combat Patrol force, really. Six in the Head says, I'm sitting here trying to talk myself out of buying a Vanguard starter set. Would you not talk about the 2-player starter box, mate? You're just talking about the starters, like the 20-odd quid ones. Tony saying, if Brothers and Badgers got into slow grow, Luke and I would probably create a scenic stock shortage across the country. Peter says, I want to have Spider Rider force in Warcry, but alas. Lee says, great chat tonight, guys. Time for bed. Thank you very much, Lee. Appreciate you coming in, mate. Mark says, you can have public and private channels in Discord. You can, mate, but then what's the point in having it as a perk to the Patreons, basically? If I just have a public one for everybody to go into, what's the perk for them anymore, really? That's so yeah, it'll always just be for Patreon supporters and stuff. Lord Maiden says, thank you very much. Oh my, that's a lot of games. Now you know what I'm kind of up against, mate. Luke saying, get on the bloody Patreon, people, £2 a month and help them man out. Vijay says, well, you could just make a slow grow for Patreons only. To be honest, mate, I'm still considering just doing a Patreon only slow grow as well, just because it's a smaller number of people as well, and I know the people there are really active, because like look what happened the last one. Somebody won the competition, and basically they must have just come in and just posted that picture and disappeared. VG says you never know. GW might not give you a voucher, but a local store might. It would have to be Goblin Games, mate, in that case, because otherwise I'm not supposed to kind of advertise anybody else. Scottini did. Oh, nice one, mate. Tiberius says I've even nearly finished his mini swap and I'm terrible at deadlines. I've had like a million other things going on, mate. I've not even kind of thought about it at the minute. If I'm perfectly honest. Joachim says, does it mean that you have to be on Facebook if you want to join a slow grow? Sorry, but I haven't really understood the slow grow thing. It's just that's where everybody posts their pictures and stuff, mate. You can still take part in it. We'll talk about it on the live streams. We'll talk about it in the Discord, to be fair. It's just that I need somewhere where I can collate everybody's kind of work when they're done. And because everybody's on the Facebook group, or the vast majority of people on the Facebook group, that's where it works. Like, only the Patreons are in Discord, so I can't ask people to post it there. YouTube, there's no way to kind of collate that stuff. It's just somewhere where I can put it in one place, basically. Scott's saying, just do a Walking Dead mini. I'll have to see which ones I've got spare, mate. Peter says, as I bought some minis for boys and badges, I may change my slow grow vote. Mike says, I had an idea, but not sure how it would word. It's basically a boxed game challenge, like Star Saga or Core Space or Descent, and everything in one box to play a game. It's not a bad show, to be fair, mate. Trying to like kind of think of it like to do it that way. Let me think on that one, because it's got legs. There's something in that, to be fair, mate. Barry saying that he's got all of his Infinity Code 1 models built, waiting for the slow grow to prime them. The Infinity one was interesting, mate, because I thought there was a lot more interest in Infinity in the group than there seems to be. The video hasn't done particularly fantastic. There doesn't seem to be that much interest. I think when I've painted Infinity miniatures on a Wednesday night, they've not been the most kind of sort of popular painting ones. I think there's some kind of Infinity fans in the group, but they're few and far between, I think. And Luke's saying that if Peter won 40k, give him 40k. Yeah. Steve says do 200 points of Vanguard or 500 points of 40k over 6 weeks, plus Iron Man woman who does both. Yeah, that's not a bad shot, mate. Six in the head saying 30 quid for the dwarf set or the undead set. Can spend that in supermarket on nothing. Yeah, a couple of takeaways for me, mate. That. Philip says, could you do a vote off? I don't. To be fair, I think I've got the numbers. There was a couple. No, I'm not going to talk about that. The Patreons know what I was going to talk about. Jason said, I got into your channel because you do cover other games besides Warhammer. You've introduced me to several other games that I would have overlooked otherwise. And that's kind of where I see the future, really. I mean, that's what I do anyway. Even if I played 40k, I'd still play like 10 other games as well at the same time. So and that's at the back of my mind, one of the kind of unique, what's it called? Like unique selling points, really, of what I'm trying to do is that I'm not the same as every other channel. That's kind of what's nagging me at the back of my mind. And what's also nagging me is the fact that if it wasn't for 9th edition, I'm not sure 40k would have done as well in our group. I think it's riding high on the hype at the minute. And I've added to it. I'm excited for it as well. I'm looking forward to picking up that box. So I think it's just, maybe, I just need to give it some thought. Bloggy saying you can always make a second group like it did for the Kings of War one. Yeah, but the problem is, mate, when I do that, then it's just like every other 40k group out there. I want to try and keep the community together, do you know what I mean? Whiskey Tango saying Infinity models the sexiest how I don't know why it's not more popular. You're right, mate, the models are fantastic. I think it's just there's just a feeling that it's just way too complex for people, I think. Even if the basic rules are not, I think that is the perception. And then you roll in the fact that 90% of the models I can't pronounce. I think that's what happens. Peter saying, Box Game Challenge, I vote we paint Risk. VJ says you have to pick a box that someone has a lot of stock of, otherwise it could be hard. I think the idea, mate, would be people just buy whatever they want. Like, but basically you paint what's in the box. So if there's a game you've already wanted, or it's a 2-player starter set for something, paint everything that's in it. Peter says, I've got a bad feeling that this slow grow is going to end up forcing me to paint Blackstone Forest. VG saying, yeah, like Dead Zone, they'll click it out. Scott says, Dreadball or Dreadball Extreme would be good. It would be, mate, but people didn't vote for it. It's like 4th or something in the, what was it? Was it 4th in the voting now? Oh, sorry, it was 3rd. It was 3rd in the voting, but it was like less than half the votes of 1st or 2nd. Phil says I've got Blackstone. Phil saying I know I'm a patron. I think you'll know what I mean, then, mate. Lord Maiden says why not a goodbye thing for 8th edition? Yeah, I think I don't want to go on about it too much. I'm sure you're all bored of hearing about it now, but I'm a bit torn because it's just so popular at the minute. I don't know if that's kind of influencing the group. And what I don't want to do is kind of like split the group in two. One of the strengths of the BlackJack Legacy group is being the fact that everybody's kind of come together. It doesn't matter what game you play, and I get the feeling at the minute there's a real potential for this to kind of just split it. Nice. Where we are, 10:11. Wow, it's later than I thought it was. Right, folks, I'm going to call that a night now because I need to get some sleep. Thank you very much, folks. You've kind of given me a bit of kind of food for thought as well, just chatting this through tonight at the end of the night. Vanguard, let me know what you think of it. Come across it in the Facebook group. Let me know what you think. If you're not on the Facebook group, please come back to this video when it's kind of it's there as a kind of one to watch later. Come and comment on it, please. The live streams don't get that many comments because they do really well in the streams and then not so much in the kind of comments afterwards. So come back and comment. Let me know what you thought of it. If you if you don't follow me on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. I'm at BlackJack Legacy. Exactly the same on Instagram as well. That'd be really cool if you follow me there. Please do take some time to check out the Patreon as well if that's something that you'd be interested in. Literally $2 a month gets you into the Discord chat. And then there's other tiers as well where you can get things like mugs where I don't drink coffee. I've had 2 mouthfuls out of it and it's freezing cold now. Peter saying, really the vote is skewed from the start as the biggest game in there. The chance you have models for that game is way bigger. The problem is, Peter, is the BlackJack Legacy group has never ever been about 40k players. It's been about pretty much people that play everything but 40k. And I think 9th edition is starting to kind of, it's influencing the decision. That's all it is. Like for so long, you very rarely see a lot of 40k stuff in that. See some of the stuff that Lee Russ has been doing recently, you see the stuff that Krabby's been doing, but the vast majority of that group isn't really 40k. I think there's a lot of people jumping on that wagon now with a new edition coming in and a really good value starter box. I think that's what it is. Anyway, folks, thanks very much everyone, and I will see you on Wednesday for the live stream as well for Hobby Hangout. Thank you very much, folks. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.